We'll be good. All right. We got everybody. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. I'm Kevin Guthrie. I'm the director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management. As state coordinating officer, I have asked these agencies to participate in the first ever agency head briefing as it relates to a disaster. This presser will be limited to Hurricane Ian information only. If you have any questions about any other issue outside of Hurricane Ian, you will need to get with the state agency that is represented here, their comms team. We're here in the SCOC coordinating and collaborating on a day-to-day basis to ensure that impacted residents and businesses have the resources they need to begin their recovery and rebuild. I want to thank these agency leaders, including the ones that are not here and currently in the field addressing community needs. More than 3,700 resource requests from our impacted local partners and have been received, and more than 3,100 are in process or completed. We have opened 2 new fuel depots in Sarasota and Hardee counties for a total of 8 fuel depots. These locations throughout Central and Southwest Florida ensure that first responders have the fuel they need to respond to the incident. We have nearly 1.5 million gallons of fuel on hand, and we have dispensed more than 180,000 gallons of fuel to date. I want to thank the men and women of the 43,000 linemen that are out in the field who have restored more than 2 million residents with power. We still have nearly 621,000 that remain without power, and rest assured they are working hard to get those lights back on. For those that can receive power, for example, they have lines to their home and the infrastructure is still standing. For those that can receive power, the estimates are from all of our electrical outlets that they will have restoration done by Sunday of this week. That is a goal that they are trying to hit, to have all customers that can receive power by Sunday of this week. This does not include those areas catastrophically hit where there is absolutely no infrastructure, no homes, and so on. To support our residents in need, we have distributed 829,000 MREs, 3.8 million bottles of water at points of distributions throughout Southwest Florida. As of today, there are approximately 34 active points of distribution, 8 in Lee, 2 in Charlotte, 5 in Sarasota, 1 in Hardee, 3 in DeSoto, 3 in Highlands. 4 more pods are mobilizing currently in Collier County and will open soon. I want to thank the Florida National Guard, Major General Eifert, for all the support with all the pods. That is a mission that has been tasked to the Florida National Guard for probably decades. They have done a phenomenal job, including their support on airlift, security, and a host of other missions. Recovery. Prior to Hurricane Ian's landfall, FDM positioned 5 teams along the projected path of the storm to immediately begin conducting rapid damage assessment after the hurricane. We are continuing to conduct those rapid damage assessments and are in the process of submitting 32 requests for FEMA public assistance across our counties. At this point in time, 17 counties have been declared for Category A debris removal assistance, emergency protective measures, and Category B is actually for all 67 counties. And then additionally, 17 counties have been declared for individual assistance. We are working diligently to get Highlands County and Lake County added to that declaration, and we continue to have conversations with the Federal Emergency Management Agency regarding Monroe County. Utilizing the advanced pre-staging and deployment of staged recovery teams, we have secured 100% Category A debris removal, 100% Category B emergency protective measure for 30 days. Because of this, Florida has paved the way for municipalities to expedite debris removal across the state. 1,000 individuals have applied for FEMA, and I'm actually going to correct that. I just got a new number coming in the door as we came in. It's actually 164,000 individuals have applied for FEMA individual assistance. We are working closely with counties to establish the mobile registration intake centers and the disaster recovery centers. I want to go over just a few safety tips as reminders. Anybody that is just coming into an area to see the damage needs to leave the area so that first responders can do their job. Do not fly drones where responders are at. Helicopters will have to cease operations until we identify where the drone is being operated from and take that drone out of service. Generator safety. We continue to have a number of individuals, over 600,000, that are without power. Do not operate a generator inside of a garage. Do not operate a generator outside of a cracked window. Make sure that it is elevated outside of water, and that will help us prevent further injuries. When it comes to individuals that are coming to your home, remember, volunteer organizations are free. They will not charge you. Again, let me say that. Volunteer organizations are free. They will not charge you. As Jimmy Petronas has said time and time again, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Be careful what you may sign. As you continue to clean up, handle the cleanup process, please use safety gear, including goggles, hats, gloves, to keep yourself safe. We will now that are represented here, and I will start with Secretary Dane Eagle. Secretary.
Good morning, everybody. Dane Eagle, Secretary, Department of Economic Opportunity. Our main duty at DEO is to coordinate with the private sector before, during, and after the storm, and also focus on economic recovery. We've been stationed here at the Emergency Operations Center days before the storm, leading up to it, doing daily calls with the public and the business sector, 1:30 p.m. daily. We have many businesses, box stores located here, Publix, Walmart, Lowe's, and what we do with that coordination is announce to the public about supply shortages, potential supply shortages, where they might be able to find goods, and also closures. And the good news is a lot of those stores are up and running 24 hours after the storm. So that's great news, and we've been happy to coordinate on that. I want to leave two things behind with you and the public today, and hopefully you can help us get this message out. Number one, we have activated disaster unemployment assistance, and thanks to the governor's leadership, we've also cut red tape in allowing Floridians access to disaster unemployment assistance. We have, through executive order, the governor's executive order, waived the waiting week, waived work search requirements, and waived Employ Florida registration. There's no need for red tape in a time like this. I know people personally back home who don't even have a job to go to. The restaurant on the beach is completely gone. And so this is a great opportunity for them to tap into by the state in coordination with the public needs to know is you must apply for traditional reemployment assistance to be eligible for DUA. DUA is designed to fill the gaps where RA doesn't, so you must apply for RA, be denied, and that denial is your pass to then apply for DUA. And DUA is available 26, 27 weeks from the day of the storm to help people get back on their feet and bridge that gap so they can find gainful employment. The other thing I want to leave behind today is that we are continuing to ask businesses to do the disaster assessment survey. This allows us to get data from businesses across the state. We realize Southwest Florida is ground zero, but we've been inland, we've been to East Florida, we've been to Central Florida, you name it. There are counties that are affected that we want to make sure that we are there helping, and we will be, and we are. But the data that you can provide about how your business has been affected, structural damage, and we want to know. So both DUA and the Business Damage Assessment Survey can be found at floridadisaster.biz. That's floridadisaster.biz. The survey takes just a few minutes to fill out, and that will allow us to tap into additional resources so that we can assist you. I want to thank the governor for his swift leadership and making sure that we are activated, that we are on it. I have a lot of faith for my friends and family and people back home in Southwest Florida and across the state because of leadership that I've seen here and making sure that boots are on the ground, and we will be on the ground in the coming days.
Okay, we're going to probably cut away from this. They're having some type of an issue with connectivity in and out, and apparently I have my information wrong. The governor is not leading up this particular press conference. It is the head of all of the agencies, not to take away from the job that they do, but I don't think that's why the vast majority of my audience has tuned in today. They wanted to see if the governor had something new to say. Apparently he is busy elsewhere, but there is a couple of interesting things to talk about this Monday morning. How many of you have seen, I put it up earlier, a little short, what they call a YouTube short. It's kind of like YouTube's version of a TikTok, a little 1-minute version of an interview. Real quick question that a CNN reporter asked the governor about if he regretted not ordering evacuations of Fort Myers, that region, earlier than he did. And he said, well, none of your people, CNN reporter, were reporting from Fort Myers or Punta Gorda or Port Charlotte or Cape Coral. None of your people were down there saying, we're here at the place where, the storm's coming. You didn't have anybody down there either. So why weren't your people there? And why weren't your people calling for it? Given that you have a lot more reach, CNN, than I do, even as the governor of Florida. I mean, it was an excellent return. It was absolutely an excellent return. And there was nothing that could be said about that. It's like, look, CNN, you were looking at the same data from the same experts that we here in Florida were. And you didn't put anybody down there in Naples or Marco Island or Bonita Springs. You didn't have a single reporter down there. They were wondering if the storm was going to go north of Tampa. So once again, hopefully this will be the last time I kick the dead horse, so to speak, on this. But this is what my very, very first video was about. Back on I think it was the 26th. But today's main video, those of you who've tuned in are going to get kind of an insight. Today's main video has to do with Brazil and how CNN stuck their foot in their mouth again. Let me zoom out here real quick. They stuck their foot in their mouth. Now look at the date. The date here is 30 September 2022. Now this is an opinion piece. Casting doubt on Brazil's election, Bolsonaro follows Trump's lead. Now, what are they talking about here? There were these polls going into the October 1st election in Brazil that showed Lula da Silva, the opponent of Bolsonaro, leading by up to 13 points. And here's what they said. Well, when Bolsonaro clearly loses, he's going to do election denial just like Donald Trump did. Okay, Lula didn't win, Daryl. That's the point. Lula, who was supposedly supposed to run away, according to the polls, with 13 points. You see, in Brazil, you can't win unless you get at least 50% of the vote. You have to win, but you have to have at least 50%. Otherwise, it goes to a runoff. And so all these polls were wildly wrong, which actually reinforces Bolsonaro's point. Lula got allegedly 48.4. Bolsonaro allegedly got 43.2. But wait a minute. Lula was supposed to be 13 points ahead, plus or minus 5. So he should have won by no less than 8, and he only won by 5. You see, this is the key. CNN stuck their foot in their mouth big time with that article. Because the actual results of the election prove what Bolsonaro was saying. That the polls versus the actual vote are so unbelievably wildly wrong that they can't be trusted. And you can't allege, you are now no longer anywhere in the world allowed to allege, unless you're authorized by Washington, D.C., any kind of monkeying with the vote. You can't allege that now. So they can't even allege that Jair Bolsonaro monkeyed with the poll, monkeyed with the results. even though it's very clear what their polls were trying to do. So that's what our main topic of the video is going to be today, that I'm working on right now. And once again, PsyOps 101. They run out a bunch of polls showing that, oh, Lula's running away with it. Oh, he's winning by 13%. And then based on that, Bolsonaro is going to claim there was fraud in the election. And then Lula only gets 48.4 to higher Bolsonaro's 43.2. Technically, in America, this would be enough. But in Brazil, they have a rule that you have to win and get at least 50% of the vote. And here's the funniest, the most ironic thing of all this. See all these third parties, third, fourth, and fifth parties? Simone Tebet, Ciro Gomez, all these. See, these are all very lefty parties that would agree with Lula. Had these all stepped out, like even Simone Tebet, if she had stepped away, the vast majority of her supporters would have supported Lula, even though they're centrists. They're very anti-military centrists. And Jair Bolsonaro controls the military. So he only needed 1.6%, and he would have been in. She took 4.2% of the vote. Ciro Gomez, same thing. I mean, this is 7.2% of the people right here. This would have made the difference for sure, these third and fourth and fifth and sixth parties. So now they have a runoff at the end of October. And, you know, there's a whammy in this, that Jair Bolsonaro controls the military. And the military supports Jair Bolsonaro, and the military plays a pretty big role in a lot of everyday life in Brazil. So that's going to probably influence things to some extent. But anyway, sorry about the false alert on the governor and the update. I guess going into this week now, given that it's in recovery and restoration phase, the governor needs to get back to being a governor of the state because there are other things going on. So anyway, thank you all for hanging out. Very much appreciate it. I did put up a little quick short this morning, a 1-minute video of that reporter from CNN getting crushed by Governor DeSantis. So go check that out. And those of you, of course, as always, who want to sign up at Patreon, perfect time to do it. Beginning of the month. Beginning of the month, you get the whole full month for your $1. So anyway, thanks for hanging out, Renee, Captain Trips, Daryl, Jax, Marilyn, Seahawk, Brian, Joe, Karen, Shift Kicker, Snuggle Time 57, Brittany, and we know 28. Thank you all for showing up. I appreciate it. God bless, like, share, subscribe, and we will talk to you guys in just a little bit.